What's poppin', y'all? While J. Cole fans are celebrating the fact that he's riding around in a Civic, linking up with them, doing hand passes, selling CDs out the trunk of his car, another individual has been very upset with him, especially after he filed the lawsuit late last year in October of 2025, and that is New York legend Cam'ron. So Cam'ron sued J. Cole. Yes, that is correct. So we're going to look through some of the paperwork here because J. Cole recently filed a response, and we're going to go through it. So it says here Cameron Giles, who's the plaintiff, and he's suing Lamar Cole, Jermaine Lamar Cole, which is J. Cole and Cole World. So it says that Cam'ron, he co-authored a sound, Ready 24. This was in 2021, December 2021. Plaintiff agreed with Cole to contribute lyrics to a verse in the composition, and he understood Cam'ron that he and Cole would subsequently record and would release on a future album, subject to certain conditions. Plaintiff's contribution to the composition was expressly conditioned on plaintiff having final approval over the release of the composition or any sound recording embodying the composition, appropriate credit, and subsequent sound recording, and Cole collaborating with him on a future project. So this is a swap. This is very, very common. A lot of the time when you see rappers talk about, oh, this is how much for a feature, that's how much they're charging KSI for a feature. Like if they're like, oh, 250, 500, a lot of the time it's done with the swap. Like for example, Future and 21 Savage, they've got a feature price, but when Future hops on a 21 song, 21's like, yeah, we're going to do a swap. I'll do one for you, you do one for me. For whenever my album's going to drop. That's usually how it works. And that's the agreement that these guys made. It is a little bit different when it's cross-generational because, like, for example, Suicide Boys, they were taking a lot of 3-6 work. 3-6, they didn't know about it. 3-6 came back around and said, hey, give me that. So there was a lot of business going on through lawyers and stuff like that. So Cole agreed to collaborate on a future recording that he would release as a single or appear on his podcast It Is What It Is. That's the show that he has with Mace. He also has his own show. So it was going to be one of those. It was a verbal agreement. So plaintiff wrote the lyrics for the composition and he and Cole recorded the sound recording in about 2022 June in New York City. 2 years later, with Cole having refused to honor his agreement to collaborate on either a single or a podcast, so now we're in 2024, defendants nevertheless released the sound recording which embodied the composition on the album Might Delete Later. So he released the track with Cam'ron on Might Delete Later, and he didn't honor the part where he said, hey, I'm going to hop on your podcast or I'm going to do a song. So this was registered. So Cam'ron's grievance, as it says later, is not only Cole not showing up for him, but on page 5 it says plaintiff, who is Cam'ron, never received compensation from Cole, nor did he convey in writing any rights in the sound recording to Cole or the other defendants. Plaintiff told Cole at the time in 2022 that he would not authorize the release of the recording for Ready 24 until Cole performed on the future single with plaintiff, and Cole agreed. So he said, look, listen, I'm not going to clear this until you hop on my stuff. So he asked him if he would agree to perform on one of 2 songs, and Cole told him that, he preferred to collaborate with him that they created together. So he was like, yeah, we got to lock in on something. Yeah, I don't want you to just send it in with an empty verse and I hop on it. So the collaboration never happened. So in 2023, Cam'ron, again, he reaches out to Cole about appearing on It Is What It Is. He's like, listen, man, we haven't been able to get this song done. It's been over a year. It's been damn near 2 years. And I've got this podcast going on. We've got some motion right now. 2023, It Is What It Is was starting to take off. Just hop on my podcast. We don't even got to do that. And Cole informed him that he was going to release an album that contained Ready 24 and would appear on the podcast later. So between July 2023 and 2024, plaintiff and J. Cole continued to communicate, but Cole put him on ice. He just kept saying, yeah, we'll do that later. We'll do it. It's like Drake. It's like what Lil Durk did to Academics with the interview. You remember when Academics was playing NBA 2K to 2,000 to 3,000 viewers and Durk had fell off the map, but Durk was promoting his album, playing 2K with them, which Durk was one of the first people to tap in with streamers and Academics per se. And people were like, yo, why the hell is Lil Durk on here? This guy fell off. Academics was doing him a huge solid. I remember the chat flying. I don't know if there's a replay of that, but people are like, yo, get this Durk guy out of here. Durk blows up later while Academics supported him throughout this entire fall off, and he does an interview with every single person under the sun before Academics. Now, he eventually gives Academics the interview. J. Cole here hasn't done any of that. So that thing ended up on Might Delete Later. And then Warner Chappell applied to the U.S. copyright composition for Ready 24 with plaintiff as a co-author. So he's saying that, listen, I didn't agree to the sound recording. And also he's saying that he hasn't been paid any royalties royalties from the track. And he says that he's owed at least $500,000 from the exploitation of the sound recording. So what is he saying? What does he want? So Cameron wants co-author of the sound recording, and he wants to perform an accounting of all the money received from Ready 24 to be paid his appropriate share, and the fees and costs of the lawyer. And he also wanted him to show up on his podcast or do a song for him. Cameron explains this situation on his podcast, which I'm going to play you guys that clip right now.
Me and J. Cole are cool, or was cool. This is exactly what happened. Being a man is keeping your word. And I know everybody's busy and everybody has things to do. But if I give you my word 4 or 5 times, I got to do it. So on his first project he did, I did an intro for him. I did the record for him for his intro. I told him I may need a verse whenever I get a project done. He said, cool. He had another project. I did a record in 20 minutes. I knocked that shit out and went off about my business. I need a verse. I'm exaggerating, but he's like, the chakra ain't right now. And, the moon got aligned with the stars. And, when I write, I put my all into it. Okay, let's put your all into it then. You know what I'm saying? Give me that verse. You called me twice to do something, and I did it. One day you have 48 hours to do it. Then I knocked the other thing out as soon as I came to New York, because you ain't want to send me a record. You want to be in the studio with me. I knocked it out. Cool, you don't give me the record. Then I said, you know what? Forget the record. Let's do an interview. Bet I got you. I got a project coming out in June. Let's do it around there. Cool, June is coming. Oh, we pushed the album back. I don't want to just do an interview. All right, cool. Now we're going to do it in October. All right, I'll call you back in October. Yo, what's up? Oh, man, Keller, you say, I tell you October, you call October, huh? Yeah. Yeah. So now this is when all the beef is going on with Kendrick Lamar. I can't do it now because I don't feel like talking about that right now. I said, look, I'll do the interview. I won't even bring that up. He says, nah, I can't do no interview and not talk about it. All right, well, when can I get the interview? Yo, February, definitely. February, I'm dead at February. February come. Yo, what's up? Oh, Yo, I'm still working, man.
So listening to Cameron, this doesn't seem unreasonable. The only way I could potentially defend J. Cole here is J. Cole does not want to appear on any interviews. A lot of people are saying, man, J. Cole ditched the whole interview circuit. He's just going hand to hand. No, he's ditching the interview circuit because there's 2 ways this goes. And J. Cole understands this. He's not a dumb guy, because in the clip that I just played you guys, Cameron said, yo, I could not ask you about the Kendrick Drake stuff. And he's saying, well, what kind of an interview is it if you don't ask me? You're going to look crazy for not asking me about that, especially considering the questions that Cameron asks. Cameron's going to ask the gritty stuff. So what's going to happen? Anybody that interviews J. Cole and doesn't ask him about this topic, they're going to be looked at as clowns. Like, oh, come on, dude. You didn't ask him about the most important thing that everybody wants to hear. And J. Cole knows that. And J. Cole knows that he has to talk about it if he's going to do an interview. So he just opts out of interviews altogether. And where does that leave us? Well, that leaves Cameron not getting his interview. Now, I would be more upset if J. Cole didn't interview with somebody else before Cameron, but he's looking at it like, yo, where's my track at least? So the response from J. Cole here and J. Cole's legal team, I'm going to read it for you guys. It says here, defendants, who is J. Cole, the plaintiff is Cameron, to reiterate, deny knowledge or information as to the truth of the allegations, except admit that plaintiff's complaint seeks a declaration that he is a co-author of the sound recording of the song Ready 24. He denies allegations in paragraphs 2, 3, 4, 5, and defendants denies the allegations of the complaint, except admit only that Ready 24 was released on Might Delete Later in or about April 2024. A ton of these pages are just denying everything. They deny allegations, except for the obvious stuff, which is, hey, we see the guy on the song. And then it says the relief requested requires no response as there are no facts alleged therein. To the extent any response is required, defendants deny the allegations, object to the relief requested, and deny that plaintiff is entitled to any of the relief requested in the complaint. Defendants admit that plaintiff has demanded a trial by jury. Defendants deny that plaintiff is entitled to the relief requested by the complaint, including a jury or any other relief whatsoever. whatsoever. In further response to the complaint, defendants make the following allegations as affirmative defenses against the claim asserted against them therein, without admitting that they bear the burden of persuasion or presentation of evidence on any of these matters. So they're trying to get this thrown out. So here it says, plaintiff is not and never was a joint author or co-owner of the sound recording entitled Ready 24. Plaintiff therefore is not entitled to the declaratory or equitable relief he seeks premised on any alleged ownership interest in the sound recording. At the time of the creation of the sound recording, the parties did not mutually intend to create a joint work or to share ownership of the sound recording, which is a required element of joint authorship under the Copyright Act. So they say they want to deny all relief, which is all the paper that plaintiff wants in the complaint. They want to dismiss the complaint in its entirety with prejudice. They declared that Cameron has no ownership interest in the sound recording Ready 24, and they declared that Cameron is not entitled to an accounting or any equitable relief. They deny his request for attorney fees and cause, and awarding defendants their costs and awarding attorney fees to the defendants to the extent permitted by the law. I'm going to keep it a buck. I believe Cameron here. Like, while J. Cole is, and like I said, I think what Cole is doing is natural for Cole. I don't think it's performative by Cole. I think it's cool what J. Cole is doing. But Cameron, you're not going to tell me, Cameron's a straight shooter. You're not going to tell me that Cameron is pulling up and just throwing some lawsuit and saying that you agreed to do a deal with him when you didn't. That's not going to happen. Cameron's not going to lie about that. I don't care what your lawyers are saying, but we're in a situation right now where what's the outcome? Clearly, J. Cole changed his mind because years passed from when this first happened and when the song came out. But I'm looking at it like, well, if you screwed Cameron over like that, why didn't you just take the song down? Because you had no problem taking down that Kendrick Lamar diss. You took that off of all streaming platforms. So why didn't you take down that song immediately after or while this was going on before it turned into a lawsuit? Because this was years in the making, but he didn't do that. And that's why I'm looking at Cole and I'm looking at Cameron like, yeah, go after him. We need to drag him through the mud. He ditched the Kendrick beef, suckered out of that one. Jay folded out of that one. He hasn't spoke on Drake. We know Drake doesn't mess with him because Drake feels like, yo, this guy just left me out to hung me out to dry. So Cameron, yeah, be on his head top. We need some negative press around J. Cole, especially after you played Cameron like that. And I just think he's looking at it like, well, I can't do a feature for Cameron now because I'm looking like I got bullied into it. And maybe he just doesn't think it makes sense for him to appear. But he was on that. He dropped a trash verse on that Grippy song. He was on a feature for Grippy. So if you're on a song like that, I imagine Cameron's looking at it like, dog, you're featuring on this and you can't even finish the song that we got together. You were waiting in the studio for NBA YoungBoy for 12 to 14 hours while he didn't show up. You were kicking it with Lil Pump, who made you the laughingstock of the youth for 2 straight years. And Lil Pump even talks about, yeah, I pulled up. First thing I did, walk into his fridge, pull out whatever I wanted and ate because I knew he was a sucker. So you treat these people like that. But Cameron, somebody that you had respect for, so much so that you wanted to work with him, you gave him your word and said that you were going to do a song or hop on his podcast. And then you give him the runaround, which this guy's experienced. He's a veteran in the industry. And also, we got to give credit. Cameron is a professional. Cameron does his job. Like, yeah, when he was interviewing the guy that was cracking Cassie, yeah, he asked some vulgar questions, but that's what the people want to hear. But for him to offer J. Cole, yo, I won't even ask you about the Drake, Kendrick Lamar stuff. Let's just do a podcast episode, because this was when he was getting motion. Like when he was doing his own separate show, he had interviewed Snoop Dogg on there. He had interviewed a couple of other people, and it was doing really, really well. Like this would have been a huge, huge interview for Cameron to get. He would have been the only one with the J. Cole interview. And you suckered him out of that too? Nah, I don't want to hear it. Well, actually, I want to hear J. Cole say something about this. But his lawyers are involved, so they're just going to tell him to shut up, and he doesn't want to speak on it. But I think Cameron should keep hammering this home. I want Cameron to get justice. I'm on Cameron over J. Cole. Now, if we're talking catalog, that's a different story. But in this scenario, yeah, Cameron, I'm with him all the way. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all in the next one.